You're listening to the Persistence Mastery Podcast to give your communication skills the clarity edge with your host, Paul Leon.
Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're going to talk about a really neat and impressive way that you can use to win in your next training or presentation. Now, for most of us, we typically go with the tell them what you're going to tell them what you told them method. And that's still an efficient way that you can indefinitely use this technique. But the technique I'm talking about is actually used by some of the top consulting groups in the United States. So the method simply is the SCQA method. And recently I was leading a workshop and I asked the group, hey, have you guys ever heard of the SCQA method? To which one person responded with, well, I know those are letters. And yes, they are letters, but the first letter, S, stands for situation. So when you're crafting your next PowerPoint presentation, or maybe even your next email, you can ask yourself, hey, what's the situation I'm really trying to communicate here in my presentation? And maybe you're trying to raise funds for a center at your college, or maybe you're trying to win over that client you have to present to the board. And you really want to start with what's the situation of what you're communicating first. And it's okay if it can be a little vague at first. That's to be expected. So let's say you're raising funds for a college and you might be saying, right now, our center, the situation is we can't see enough students and we can't help them as much with X amount of service or X amount of needs. Going to the professional presentation as well, right now, what we're seeing in your industry is boom, here's the situation we see. And then the next letter, C, stands for complication. And this is where you're going to want to reveal that pain, but in a way where it's pretty simple to understand. So the complication, let's go again with that student example or raising money for your center. So the complication could be, right now we have a lack of funding. We have students who are on a wait list who are not getting the service they need. And then let's say it's for that client. And what we're seeing in this industry is companies that don't adapt to change fall into these pain points. And that really goes with your complication. Now, the good news is the next letter, Q, is more of a relief type method now. So now you have to think about what's the question to transition from the situation, from that complication into the answer. So, and that question has to connect really those first two pretty smoothly and well. So again, if it's a student center, the situation is we don't have enough resources. We need this. And the complication is we just don't have enough funding, as I said before. So the question is, if we can raise $300,000, can we help more students see more resumes and help them get on a stronger career path? And then the next letter is A, which is your answer to your own question. So you're really answering your own question when you're opening the presentation. And what will happen is when you really start to use this method, it draws in an audience almost immediately. And it's actually really neat to watch it in action. And it seems so simple. And yet this is a method that's used to win 100,000, sometimes $1 million deals in our country. So again, your next call to action is really, how can you use the SCQA method? And even if you're not a presenter, you can use this method. Next time you're writing that email, maybe shorten it with your boss to say, here's the situation, here's what I'm running into. Here's the question we've had to ask ourselves. And the answer is, I need help with this. And you're going to start to find that people are going to respond a lot faster to you. And they're going to appreciate that you're using this method because you're thinking of their time. You're thinking about the clarity that goes into it. So again, if you're a presenter, go ahead and use this in your next presentation. Structure your opening with a situation, complication, question, answer method via the SCQA method. And if you're not a presenter or trainer, that's okay. Find a communication medium where you can adapt it, and it can be as simple as an email.
Thank you for listening to the Persistence Mastery Podcast. Subscribe to where you listen to podcasts And if you want to hire Paul to train or speak for your team, visit persistencemastery.com and fill out the request training form.